Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to Duke's Daily Tuesday or Wednesday edition. Kind of doing this one on the fly up in the kitchen area instead of down in the office studio area where I normally do my broadcast. Last night, big memorable night at Fenway Park, especially for Red Sox fans, uh, Giants fans, even San Francisco Giant fans, and most notably for the Yastrzemski family. So, if you're not one that has followed a whole lot of baseball in your career, or in your lifetime, know that the name Yastrzemski is synonymous with Fenway Park. It is synonymous with the Boston Red Sox and synonymous with the city of Boston. Carl Yastrzemski, the elder Yastrzemski, patrolled, left field for the Boston Red Sox for 23 years, Hall of Fame career, the last guy to win a triple crown in all of baseball, which means you led the league in home runs, RBIs, and in batting average. So last night meant the arrival of his grandson, Mike Yastrzemski, who is an outfielder for the San Francisco Giants. He came up this past May. Uh, he was promoted to the Giants and given his first real opportunity to play in the big leagues. And so he has not disappointed, though he's a bit older for a rookie, as we would know rookies to be. But Mike has done real well this season. And last night in Fenway Park in the fourth inning, he hit his 20th home run of the season. 20 is a nice little mark in baseball. It's like 20 goals in hockey. That's a pretty good little accomplishment to have on your sports resume. And so Mike was able to get his 20th and to do it in front of the Fenway faithful. Once he had hit it, there was a bit of a standing ovation for him, pretty reasonable, and things like that. No curtain call, but of course, he's playing for the Giants, so kind of, Red Sox fans, Boston fans they're fair fans, but they still love their team, right? And so I think the way the whole thing played itself out was just great. They did do an interview with Carl before the game. And here's the class thing about with Carl Yastrzemski is that, he stayed away from Fenway last night. He wanted that to be all for his grandson, all about his grandson, to enjoy that moment, savor everything about the whole experience with the media, the crowd, the whole 9 yards. And so last night proved to be a good night, not only for the Yastrzemskis, but for the Giants, as they went on to beat the Red Sox in 15 innings, 7-6. So great night at Fenway, memorable night. Tonight, Carl is going to be in the house to see his grandson play for the whole game. And it probably will be the first time he's ever watched a full game at Fenway in quite some time. Yaz just is not one that goes and spends time at the ballpark. Whether you agree with that or not, it's irrelevant. That's the choice he has made. Has thrown out first pitches at some of the World Series the Red Sox have been in these past 20 years. But he's one that just he marches to his own drum, and actually he's earned the right to do so. Also, want to just quickly touch on this whole Patrick Laine thing that is beginning to really blow up in Winnipeg. It is a shame. The Jets have been a fun team to watch the last couple of years, kind of one of a few teams that kind of can play that old style of hockey, like the heavy hitting and banging and stuff like that, and still have a good enough skill set that they can be competitive with the other teams who are built that way. Laine is back in Finland, back in his home country. He could be in Switzerland even as of today, because apparently he's working out with a team over there, but I think it's in Finland. And he's firing some pretty big shots across the bow of his current employer, the Winnipeg Jets, its management, and now he's even firing shots at the teammates. And one has to wonder if we're seeing Antonio Brown 2.0 unfolding in Winnipeg. Obviously, big differences in this, but when you start attacking your teammates, especially in hockey is a culture that prides itself on being, not out there. They're not out in your face and all of this kind of thing. And look at me, look at me. This behavior with Laine right now is something that's not accustomed in the National Hockey League. And, it's kind of, it's changing the landscape and the culture of what's going on with hockey. You got the Marner situation that dragged itself on longer than it probably needed to. The number they arrived at on a contract could have been, I'm sure, reached that sooner than what it was. But these young guys and their agents today in hockey are taking much the kind of stand that you're starting to you have been seeing in other sports, like baseball and football, basketball, where the players they want their coin. And so the NHL players are beginning to, realize that what their value is, and they're trying to get top dollar as well. But I don't think you go about doing it in the manner that Laine is doing it. I don't think taking shots at your teammates is something that's effective. And some of the comments that he did make were, excuse me, whoa, yawning. Some of the comments that he made were, they're pretty. I don't know. They talked to Blake Wheeler today concerning some of it, and he's saying that it's not an issue. It won't be an issue in the locker room. I call bullshit on that. When you're saying, there's the top lines in the NHL, and then there's our line. Well, he's referencing his centerman Brian Little, his other winger, who I'm not sure even who he plays with on that second line, but. Those weren't good. Those weren't good comments there. He's commented about the coach, Paul Maurice. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, Maurice has gotten that team to the playoffs here 2 years in a row, and they've had a good run in one of them. So I don't think it's fair to be citing your coach in this situation. And Cheveldae is doing the best he can as the general manager, right? So it looks like Laine is trying to do all he can to get himself out of Winnipeg. And you know what? If that's the case, maybe it's time for Winnipeg to move on. They're having some issues. Bufflin is off on a way of absence for personal reasons. Johnny Yokeri. Meyer got 6 for 4 and 10 million on that fourth year. Boser got 3 for 5.8. Has better stats than either. Thus, he is objectively. Yes, he would be worth more, but is he worth more than David Pastrnak? I don't think so. I don't think he's better than Pastrnak. I don't think Pasternak's necessarily better than Laine if we're looking long term. But right now, David Pastrnak is better than Patrick Laine. How much is David Pastrnak getting paid? $6.85 million a year for 6 years. So when Laine is coming in for $10 million, and one should go take a look at his numbers outside of his first year, his numbers have been decreasing. His even strength numbers have decreased over this time. So I'm not sold yet that, no, I'm not forking up $10 million for Patrick Laine at this point. I think in his case, if he does want to stay in Winnipeg, and maybe he does. I'm just saying he keeps doing what he's doing. It looks like he's trying to get himself out. Laine has a lot better stats than Pasta when he signed that contract. Doesn't matter at this point in time. The contract is the contract that's been signed by Pastrnak, and a lot of these contracts become, kind of standard bearers for how people are going to get signed. Marner's was signed based on his numbers, compared to what Tavares and Matthews had, and he ended up taking slightly less. But of course, there's the argument that centermen are of greater value than wingers, right? So. Anyway, Laine is an interesting thing. He is creating a lot of commotion here in Canada because, as we know, Canada is very huge, a huge hockey country, and they take it very seriously, and it's very religious-like here in Canada. Hockey is much like it is back in Finland and stuff. I just think there's a better way. There's better ways for athletes to go about it. I'm not disputing some of the comments that Laine is making. He also said about if he was on another team with other type of line mates, his numbers could be better. Not disputing that might not be the case, but when you start taking shots like that publicly with your teammates, that usually doesn't end up being very good, right? And especially in this day and age where things are a lot more sensitive than it was 15, 20 years ago, it'll be an interesting play to see how this plays itself out. Sid Sixero on Sportsnet, Tim and Sid. He figures he's gone within 2 weeks, that he'll be traded. So we'll see, which will be kind of unfortunate because they've had a little bit of a role there in Winnipeg. But they've also, they traded Trouba in the offseason. Bufflin is a bit of a mystery right now as to what's going to happen with him. So, I mean, their defense, that Jets defense, kind of a situation like with the Leafs. A lot of fire, you got some firepower up front, although I think Toronto has more than Winnipeg does. But Winnipeg was balanced. I think they were a bit of a balanced team, just needed a break here or there, and they might have made that Stanley Cup final. But that didn't happen, right? So, anyway. Lots to talk about. Great thing about sports. Everybody has an opinion. Yanni, appreciate your comments. Respect them, sir. And hope you choose to tune in again soon. So have a great day, everybody. Talk to you again tomorrow. Off to work for the Dukester. And we'll catch you tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Thursday, top 10. Top 10 Thursday. And we'll see what we have in store then. Everybody have yourselves a great day. And thanks for tuning in.